Santa?
Yes, Virginia. There is a Santa Claus.
Who are you? What are you doing?
Hello friends, this is Grief speaking, and we're just going to keep this holiday horror train going. Today it's all about killers, slashers, sickos, and Santas. Yeah, that's right, for some reason the concept of Santa or someone dressed as Santa being a blood-soaked killer has run rampant in the holiday horror scene, and I wanted to get to the bottom of whether the Santa killer formula really works. Plus, I might sprinkle in a few other holiday slasher villains while I'm at it. So grab a slice of Christmas ham, sit back, and enjoy more Christmas killers. Let's start off with Christmas Evil. Christmas Evil kind of stands out as being one of the oldest Killer Santa movies, and in a lot of ways it might be the best. For the most part, this movie actually takes a fairly real and dramatic approach, as real as you can get with this type of story, but there are a couple of comical and absurd things that happen in this movie. First of all, the opening of the film gives us a little backstory to the main character. Harry and his family stay up late to wait for Santa to deliver their Christmas gifts. This is actually Harry's dad in a costume, but he plays the part well and the kids go to bed. Unfortunately, Harry decides to go back downstairs and find Santa committing sexual acts on his mother. So yeah, that's the opening scene of the movie and the catalyst of Harry's eventual meltdown. It's already fucked him up enough because the dude sleeps in Santa outfits and works at a toy factory. His life is kind of miserable and people are constantly taking advantage of him. Well, as you might have guessed, he eventually snaps. He believes that he actually has become Santa, then he takes some toys from his factory and smelts them down into toy soldiers and small axes. He finally starts his killing spree, 50 minutes into the movie I might add, when Midnight Mass gets out and 3 young guys start making fun of him. But we all know Santa doesn't take no shit, and he uses one of the toy soldiers to stab this guy's eye out. Then he pulls out his holly jolly hatchet and splits these 2 dudes' heads open. Damn, Santa! And he does it in front of the entire church, which is just an insane way to start his killing spree. It all seems unconventional, but that's just because I was watching this movie expecting it to be a slasher, when in reality it's more of a character study on a person going insane. Yes, there are kills, but they come secondary to the mental breakdown of the character. He sneaks into people's houses and kills another dude, but at this point the whole damn town is after him and an angry mob forms. In a getaway attempt in his van, which has a sleigh painted on its side, he runs it off a bridge and then... Okay, so remember when I said that this movie actually stays pretty real? Yeah, forget I said that, because the van starts flying magically towards the moon as the narrator comes in with the classic Christmas lines.
As he drove out of sight, Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night.
What? It's so insane that that's actually how they end this movie. Like, the guy goes crazy thinking he's Santa Claus, murders a bunch of people, and then actually does become Santa Claus. That's pretty awesome, actually. Apparently the director, Louis Jackson, came up with the basic idea of this film after smoking marijuana one night during the 1970s and seeing a vision of Santa Claus holding a knife. Well, he must have done the same thing when he wrote that ending. Sheesh. Next up, we have Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's a quintessential Santa slasher in my opinion because it follows the slasher formula so well and it's just chock full of brutal kills. Plus, in typical slasher fashion, spawned a slew of sequels. Interesting to note that the release of this film was picketed by angry parents who weren't happy to see Santa Claus depicted as an axe murderer, despite the fact that Christmas Evil had come out 4 years earlier. As a result, the film was pulled from theaters after barely 2 weeks. The crazy thing is, it opened the same weekend as Nightmare on Elm Street and was actually outgrossing it before it was pulled from theaters. Anyway, the film starts with the Chapman family, a mother, father, and 2 boys visiting their grandpa. After the grandpa traumatizes the older boy, Billy, about being good or Santa's gonna punish him, they leave.
See Santa Claus tonight? You better run, boy. You better run for your life.
Meanwhile, a man in a Santa outfit holds up a gas station and kills the clerk. His getaway car breaks down in the road, and who should show up on the scene but the Chapmans? They attempt to escape, but Santa shoots at the car, killing Billy's father. Billy runs and hides behind a bush, but then Santa begins to sexually assault his mother before killing her. I have to say, that's a little more traumatic than the Christmas Evil opening. Later, Billy and his little brother Ricky are living at an orphanage where Billy can't seem to keep out of trouble. He even knocks a fake Santa the fuck out. We now jump ahead to an 18-year-old Billy who starts a job at a toy store where he's eventually hired to play the role of Santa for the kids. It all seems fine and dandy until one of his coworkers start molesting a girl that Billy has the hots for. Well, it finally happens. Billy snaps and starts going on a killing spree. Not just killing the rapist, but the victim as well, and then his manager. He just keeps going after that, killing more and more people with some pretty cool kills. The most standout being when he impales a girl on the antlers of a deer trophy. Eventually, Billy meets his end, being shot by cops, but they set it up for a sequel with his little brother Ricky, who now mimics Billy. As I mentioned before, this set up a slew of sequels, I think 2 of which actually star a grown-up Ricky. And you've probably seen the old Garbage Day clip online. If you haven't, here's a reminder.
Garbage Day! Huh? No!
Well, turns out that's actually from this series. Maybe eventually I'll go through all the sequels and cover the entire thing. Okay, next we have Santa's Sleigh. Santa's Sleigh is a film about how Santa, who's played by wrestling legend Goldberg, is actually the virgin birth offspring of Satan, who goes on a killing spree every Christmas. That is until he loses a bet with an angel over a curling match and is forced to be nice for 1,000 years. Well, the 1,000 years is up, and this Christmas Santa is ready to go on another blood-soaked rampage. If you think that premise sounds over the top, the opening scene to this movie is one of the most hardcore openings to a slasher film I've ever seen. Goldberg, Santa, drops down the chimney into the home of a wealthy family having dinner and absolutely wrecks these fools. He pins the dad's hands to the table with knives and suffocates him with a turkey leg, impales a woman on a chair, kicks the son, played by Chris Kattan for some reason, with such force that he dies, blows booze into a flame, creating a makeshift flamethrower to torch Fran Dresser, who's in this movie for some reason, before drowning her in eggnog. He straight up kills a woman with a single blow to the head, and finally he uses the star from the Christmas tree as a ninja shuriken to kill the last survivor. That's the first 5 minutes of this movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus.
I said that Silent Night, Deadly Night is probably the best Santa slasher in a classic kind of way, but in the realm of horror comedy, this movie no doubt takes the cake. The film's not afraid to dig into the absurdity of the plot. Santa's sleigh is not led by reindeer, but a single hell deer, which is an ox-type creature, and there are so many puns in this movie it would make Schwarzenegger proud.
Grandpa got run over by a reindeer.
There's no shortage of violence, and the kills never let up, forcing them to become more creative as it goes along. This Santa isn't sneaking around either. He goes straight into every situation and just demolishes everyone. This quick and lethal approach, mixed with the use of surroundings and the creative kills, makes Santa feel like a combo of John Wick and Jackie Chan. There's not much more to say about it. There's a sort of romance subplot of 2 teenagers who try and defeat Santa, but honestly, this movie is just Santa slaying. It's in the title. I mean, it's as simple as that. Let's move on to Christmas, Bloody Christmas. This is definitely the most recent of any on the list. Might as well call this one Disappointment, Bloody Disappointment. The movie starts off promising. The opening sequence is as if we're watching someone flipping through television stations, along with made-up advertisements and promotions that eventually lead to a commercial for a robot Santa. This robot was originally designed as an AI warbot for killing terrorists, but has been reconfigured to bring fun to the whole family. So it's already pretty funny and not taking itself too seriously, so that's good. Also promising is the opening sequence, where we meet the protagonist, a record store owner, and her employee. I'll give props, the acting is pretty good for a low-budget horror like this, but before you know it, 15 minutes goes by and they're still talking in the record store. Then 20 minutes go by, then 25. I'm sure someone could get invested in these characters, but I'm waiting for a robot Santa to smoke some fools here, and it just keeps going. Now the characters are drunk, and now they're having sex, and look, I understand that it's almost a trope at this point in slasher movies for the killer to not get down and dirty until halfway through the movie, or at least until people have had sex, and that's probably because they gotta fill time to hit that hour and 30-minute mark, but I would just much prefer this movie just be an hour long and get to the Santa killing stuff faster. Okay, well, maybe I'm being kind of harsh here, especially since a lot of these criticisms are just part of the genre at this point. Once you get past the turning point of the movie, things pick up a lot. At first I thought the Killer Santa was laughable since it was clearly a dude just lazily acting robotic, but as Santa takes more damage he starts looking like the Terminator or something, and I have to say the practical effects here are awesome. So by the end it won me over a little bit, but watch it for yourself and let me know what you think. Next up we have Jack Frost. Jack Frost isn't a Santa killer, but he is a Christmas themed killer, and I mean look, where else am I going to fit him in at? I mentioned Jack Frost in my body horror iceberg, and the fact that there are two Jack Frost movies, one being an R-rated slasher film about a serial killer snowman that came out in '97, and then the wholesome family flick starring Michael Keaton that came out the next year. Well, the former film traumatized me due to a rental store mix-up when I was just a little grief. Now years later I'm watching it again for you. You're welcome. So Jack Frost is a pretty simple, if absurd, premise that a maniacal serial killer, through a freak accident toxic spill, fuses with the snow to become a killer snowman. The film is in the same vein as Ginger Dead Man or Evil Bong, where it's just chock full of snow puns. There's nothing to stand out here as far as the kills, but the stupid jokes make up for it, like the scene where he essentially rapes Shannon Elizabeth, who manages to appear naked in almost every 90s movie. Anyway, once he's bashed her head in,
Looks like Christmas came a little early this year. Well, hope it was.
yeah, he's not exactly George Carlin. The thing that makes him such a powerful villain is his ability to melt and then freeze, so he can break himself down and then reappear very quickly, plus nothing can really hurt him. They try to take him out with blow dryers, which doesn't actually work, and eventually find out that antifreeze fucks him up. Like, it somehow melts him and changes him back into human at the same time, so it looks pretty disgusting. This is a fun one if you're in the right mood or just hanging out with some friends. It's a so bad it's good type movie. It's not the best in that category, but it's nothing to shake a stick at either. Okay, so next up we have Black Christmas. Once again, this is not a Santa killer or anything like that. It's not even supernatural, but it is a slasher film, and it takes place on Christmas. In my opinion, it's one of the quintessential holiday slashers and kind of moves beyond the Christmas theme into just being a classic slasher in general. I think it's sort of a must-watch in this genre. Yeah, it's pretty outdated, but if you're a fan of the early Friday the 13th movies or the 1978 Halloween, this is right up your alley, and it's kind of cool because this one actually predates all of those. It's about a person stalking and killing a group of sorority girls on Christmas break and follows a lot of the classic slasher tropes, although this was before they were tropes. The film's been remade, but I say stick to the original. It's a good one to throw on during the Christmas season on a cold night. Okay, and just because I have nowhere else to stick this movie, but I think it should be talked about, A Cadaver for Christmas. A Cadaver for Christmas is another low-budget horror movie that's actually pretty good. Yeah, somehow this 2011 zombie movie that feels like a student film really entertained me. The plot is pretty simple. A college janitor finds the dead reanimated and leads a ragtag team of survivors through the infested dorm halls. This film is a good example of just working with what you have. Despite the limitations of the budget, this movie really makes it work with legitimately funny dialogue and likable characters. You can tell the movie was not made to be taken seriously, and I found myself sucked in from the moment the janitor shows up covered in blood and acting like a badass action hero. If you're looking for B-movie schlock that happens to be highly entertaining, I recommend checking this little gem out. Well friends, I hope this satisfies your holiday bloodlust. I got more videos coming up, and also I just want to ask you guys, what would you like me to cover next? Any particular icebergs out there you think I should do an explanation video on, or strange topics to explore? Let me know. Well, I think that's it for now. Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas. This is Grief speaking. Happy holidays, friends.